Hello and welcome to part, I believe it's 31. I'm not exactly sure. I'm just guessing. Hi, good day. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Palestinian Israeli conflict. I think one of the main problems is we don't have Hamas being considered non-terrorists. I know a long time ago, a very long time ago, they acted in such a manner and they wound up on the list. But um, I know it looks a little provocative what's going on now, but desperate situations cause just desperate situations. I'm not condoning it at all. I'm against it, but I think that's one of the main sticking points is that the, uh, the Hamas is not considered legitimate, and not giving them a legitimacy, and the government of Gaza is a serious problem. And on the other side of it is, why aren't there talks? Is I guess it could go back to what I just talked about, but um, I think there need to be talks, and I think they should be UN brokered. That's not to say U.S. can't do it. I don't know, or someone else. But I would say that the UN would probably do a more honest job, in maybe a more thorough job in bringing the parties together in a fair deal for all, a win-win-win-win situation for all involved. Um, I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm a little groggy. I'm sorry, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I'd like to see these talks, and I want to know who it is. I guess it's because Hamas, first of all, isn't on the list as being a legitimate government entity, and then I think the Palestinian Authority should also accept Hamas as legitimate, and they should work together. I mean, they talked about power sharing. Why not? I know it's divided by land. I know this, and that's how it's going to be, I guess. And I'm hoping for a safe train from both, so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from either area. And maybe there's even more they could do, cargo trains or whatever. But there has to be policing of weapons and whatnot. They can't be moving around weapons and all that. Between the two, I think is necessary. But that's not to say they shouldn't have some sort of protective mechanism against Israel should they ever need it. But it should be very light, I think. And that's not what it's about. It's about peace and getting along and working well together and all that. So Hamas needs to be off that list of the terrorists, and I'll take responsibility for them. I've seen the evolution of Hamas. They used great restraint at certain times when it counted most, and I know it looks provocative sometimes if you look back in history, but we're talking ancient history. Over 2 decades ago, they were bad. And it just happens to bear the same name, albeit they're very different. They are the government of Gaza, and Gaza is being squelched. I mean, excuse me. They, pardon me. They are not living. The standards of living are not good in Gaza. Excuse me. And so this is sort of a cry of desperation, possibly. I still think they should protest somewhere else besides the wall. I mean, I know it's about the wall or whatever, but I don't mean to say whatever. It's not whatever. It's very important to all. But they need to be off that list. America has to take them off the list, and if the U.S. won't do it, then the UN should do it. I think they should have enough faith in them that they've proven to be a good government, helping, providing for the Gaza people, and it's just difficult to sit by and see nothing done. I mean, the protests are just not. I mean, peaceful protests somewhere else, yes, maybe that would help. But by the wall, some being provocative and going up to the wall, bullets flying, people dying, even throwing stones sometimes can be a scary thing, or just an excuse to do something awful. Let's sit back. And I mean, I don't want another Friday of deaths, and people getting hurt and injured. And we don't need this. And we don't need conflict. We need resolve and getting along. I mean, these people have to get along. It's ingrained in what must be in the peace process. And to have combatants and whatnot, it's just ridiculous. So seriously consider taking them off the terrorist list. I think that's the only solution, and then have talks. If you won't do that, then it's not going to happen. It's just not, because they are the government, and like that. So I don't foresee it happening. I think it's the only avenue, that you have to accept Hamas as totally changed. And I know this doesn't look good, the protest near the wall, but it's very important that we see Hamas in a new light. I mean, I know they've come a very long way, and I'll vouch for them if that means anything. I've been following the conflict for a good over 2 decades, and more than that, and possibly. And I think that they should be given some credit for dealing with a difficult situation and keeping things together and providing for their people. Although any kind of violent or provocative moves should not be acceptable, but it doesn't mean they should be on that list, because getting them off the list gets them to the table. I think they won't get to the brokering table until they're lifted off the list. And I've said that so many times, but it's an imperative. And who is it that is resistant to talks? I still have this question. I want to know exactly who. And they say, oh, well, they're terrorists, but they're really not. I mean, I know it looks bad right now, and they shouldn't be. They should take every effort to prove themselves to be non-terrorist peoples. It's just, it's a terrible shame what's going on. I mean, there's got to be a solution. I'm losing my voice again, so I'm going to go. But I wish for the Hamas government to be legitimized and legitimized. Excuse me. I really need my coffee in the morning, to be honest. And then talks, and none should resist. I think the UN is the best broker for this, is how I see it right now, with things going on with President Trump. There's just too much distraction. There was claims of bias, and it may work. I'm not ruling it out as the U.S. being a broker, but I think the UN, look to the UN, and the UN should maybe intercede. I mean, take a more aggressive stance on peace. That was my theory, that aggressive peace is sometimes necessary. You have to actually say, well, would you like peace? Is it enough? You have to actually insist and say, look, this is not acceptable to the world. This is not acceptable to us. we need to have talks, insistent, even if it's slightly twisting their arm, get them to the table. And who is it that's resistant? Is it the UN? Is it not doing enough? Or is it the Palestinians? Is it Israel? Is it the people of Jerusalem have problems with this? Is it the Palestinian Authority? Who is it? I mean, I want accountability. I want to know who is not allowing Hamas to be legitimized, and I want to know who is it that's resistant to shut these talks. And it may just be one-on-one, the UN with one of the parties first, and then the UN with one of the other parties, and like that. It may be a slower road than people would like, but getting aid into Gaza is also important, and getting them electricity. Shutting off the electricity is just, in my view, a little childish. I think that's not fair. I mean, you need to give them more faith. They're having a difficult situation, and this needs to be done. So, what can be done, I've already stated, and I believe in this most wholeheartedly, and so please take these necessary steps, and thank you, and have a good day.